Welcome to the SI Farmer podcast where we talk business, farming, marketing, tactics, strategy, the virtues of life, and other good stuff. And today is no exception. You know, I tell my kids, if they're dating somebody, my kids are both grown, and if they ever date somebody that they think it's getting serious, that the thing that they should do to see if this relationship is going to work is they should do two things. First, they should work cattle together. And second, they should hook up a gooseneck trailer together. If you can survive, if a relationship can survive both of those two things, man, it's got a shot. And I started thinking, I joke about that, but you know what? Those two activities can teach us a lot about ourselves and teach us a lot about how to be better marketers and how to market our farms better. So let's get into it.
I have a love-hate relationship with marketing. Really? I've got to do what? All I want to do is farm.
Welcome to the SI Farmer podcast. If you want to market your farm, farm-based business, or craft food business directly to the consumer, this is the place for you. Welcome to the show. If you've ever worked cattle, you know it can be a difficult thing to do. The better your setup, the better your facilities, the easier it gets sometimes. But when we first started farming cattle, started raising cattle, we didn't have very good facilities. And trying to get cows to go into a trailer in an open field is, well, they don't want to be in the trailer, and they're bigger and smarter sometimes, I think, and faster than we are. So you learn. And even with good facilities, I walked 30 or 40 head in the other day, and I got distracted and looked around, and I wasn't paying attention, and they ran right by me going the exact opposite way that I wanted them to go. And I just had to stand out of the way and go back, bring them up again. And I wasn't on horseback this time. I was using my dog, but I got distracted, answered the phone in the middle of it, and But I didn't get mad or didn't yell, just kind of went back, pushed them back up. But the thing you can learn about that is patience, understanding, and looking at things from the cow's point of view. I mean, see things like a cow sees things. I have a dear old friend who's a very Christian man, but would never put any type of a sign on his car. He didn't want people to know he was a Christian because traffic made him mad. And at that point, I lived in a city that had lots and lots of traffic. And it frustrated him. He would get so mad in traffic. Everybody that drove slower than him was a menace, was a nuisance, and anybody who went faster than him was a complete menace to society. And I learned early on when I used to have to drive in traffic in a previous life. Man, I learned early on that if I was going to survive sitting still for 2.5 hours each way to work, which was horrible, I took that time and tried to do something productive with it. And to get back to work in cattle, that patience and that understanding and seeing things from the cow's point of view comes into traffic too. You don't know what's happened in front of you. And you getting mad and angry and wanting to go faster does not make you go faster. You're still stuck behind the guy in front of you. And so you learn to do something productive. So, what can this teach us about being better marketers? Well, when you market a business, when you run a business, you're always looking about, when you run a farm, we're looking about production and crops and are we doing a good job? Are we producing a good product? When we start to get into marketing that business, we almost always have to see our business from the customer's point of view. How do we flip the tables? I used this in a lesson I was in one of our courses the other day I was recording. How do we walk around the counter and look back at ourselves and see us like the customer sees us? I believe it was a psychiatrist named Cooley had a theory called the looking glass theory, and it's how we perceive ourselves when compared to how others perceive us. And getting better at perceiving ourselves, and when I say ourselves, I'm not talking about personally, but looking at our business, perceiving our business the way a customer or a potential customer might perceive our business, and thinking about that. And when we go to market our business, understanding that We are not normal. We're not the customer. So we have to think like the customer thinks. So how can we make things easier? Excuse me, I had to take a slug out of the mug there. How can we make things easier? So after we moved out here to the farm, drives me crazy when the hardest thing to do is pay a company. And that's just one example, but making things easier for the customer, we should make it as easy as possible for our customers to pay us. Man, you want to accept credit cards? Sure. Got it. Want to check? Sure. We got to verify it, but sure, we got a policy for that, but sure, pay us by check. Want to pay us by cash? Sure. Want to pay us by, making it easy for the customer. Anything we can do to make that transaction easier. And that, again, comes from thinking about things from the customer's point of view. And I see businesses that won't accept credit card because the credit card companies charge 2.9%. But if we make 2 extra sales a month because we accept credit cards, well, it probably paid all of our transaction fees and then some and made us more profit. So we just have to think, how can we make things easier for our customers? And when we work cattle, it teaches us 2 things. And those 2 things are, we have to think about things from the cow's point of view. But secondarily, it teaches us we are going to fail at some point. There's going to be a cow get by us. We got to let them go get them again. In marketing, what that means is when we start to market our business, a lot of what we have to do is guessing. We try to make those guesses as educated as possible with information, but understand we are going to fail. But if you've heard Thomas Edison, you've heard the story about Thomas Edison inventing the light bulb. He invented, I think the number's like 10,000 light bulbs before he found one that worked. And the famous quote is, well, didn't you feel like don't you feel like a failure? And he said, no, I didn't fail. I learned 10,000 ways not to build a light bulb. Well, that's what we have to do in marketing. Every time we do something to promote our business, or every time we interact with a customer, every time we should be learning. And we're finishing up a course teaching how to build a marketing plan for farms, how to take your farm and build a marketing plan for it in a very practical and straightforward way. And one of the things we teach is planned failure. Everything you do is a learning experience. You're going to get some of it right. You're going to get a little bit wrong. How do we figure out what we did right, double down and make that more effective the next time and get rid of what we did wrong? Then we get better and better. In software design, back in earlier part of my career, I was involved in some tech stuff. And in software design, it's called iterative design. And what that basically means is we build it, see if it works. If it doesn't work, we fix it and move on. And then we find the next thing that doesn't work and we fix it and we move on. But it's planning for potential failure. Success, if it happens, great. I mean, if you get your marketing right on the first try and everything goes gangbusters, man, that's awesome. That's great. But you got lucky. The reality is most campaigns, most marketing initiatives fail at something. And we have to learn what that something is. So how do we do that? Well, one of the ways we do, like when we're working cattle, what we do is we know we have to get all these cattle in. We know when we failed because we've got one left out in the pasture. Well, that was a fail. We need to get that cow in here and do it. How do we do it? Well, we try a different tactic with that cow. Or, when we market, we measure and we take those measurements and we learn from them. We understand where we failed and we fix that. And so, you'll hear people talk about, well, when you get something right in your marketing, double down on that, cut the failure off, move on. And that's exactly right. But you have to plan to be able to learn. One of the things we talk about when we're building a marketing plan is being able to plan and be accepting of failure, because it's going to happen. I mean, no matter how good you are, you're going to fail at some part of it. And what the idea is you learn Thomas Edison learned 10,000 ways not to build a light bulb. So, he learned. Now, I've seen I won't mention the company's name, but they went out and they did this huge campaign, and it was all measurable aspects were a success except one. It did not convert to sales. So they learned a lot about what people wanted to hear and what people want to say, but they didn't convert to sales. So they failed at that part. So they had to go take this very successful other part and figure out how to make that convert to sales. And again, no matter how good something is, there's always room for improvement. And so they look at it and they say, okay, well, let's go back to the drawing board. What did we get right? What did we get wrong? And that's what marketing is, because customer behavior changes over time. Their shopping behaviors change over time. You don't believe me? Go back to 1996 when shopping online was such an oddity. And how many of you use something like an Amazon, where you click, 2 days later, something shows up at your door? Your behavior, your shopping behavior changed. And selling our products, whether we're selling food products like beef, or we're selling farm products, or we have farm service, consumer behavior changes. So our marketing tactics change, and we have to plan for that. And so, we learn from cattle this bigger lesson. How do we market our business and succeed? And that is plan, make the best educated guesses you can have, take all of the data that you can get together, make a decision, ask people who you trust, who you think have your best interest at heart. And you set this deal up where you're going to go out and market your farm, and you look what worked. And first, find the successes. And then find the failures. No matter how successful it is, find the failures and fix those. You get better, because what that teaches us is we get more efficient. More efficient in marketing terms means we spend less money marketing for the result we get. Now, maybe that doesn't mean we spend less money, but maybe it means we spend the same amount of money but get more of a result. So now we learn how to scale. Then we have to go back into the business side. But marketing is about learning. It's about understanding our customers and learning from them. And as their behaviors change, being able to change with that behavior by looking at what we've done that has been successful and what we've done that has failed, because you will have both successes and failures. Don't get discouraged by failure. Failure is a great teaching lesson. I've seen parents out there that, I don't want my kid to fail. And I was always, my kids, we rodeo and we team rope and calf rope. And, I want my kids to go out and do their best. And if they fail, I want them to learn from it. I don't want to protect them from failure. Failure can be good. I've learned a lot more in my life by what I got wrong than the few things I get right. I want to learn. And when your kids, when you, at least in my opinion, when I'm raising my kids, I wanted them to understand that, there's a great old quote: success is not permanent and failure is not final. We understand we're going to fail. Fix it, move on, make better decisions, collect more data that gives us more information to help us make better decisions, and move on. Marketing is about learning. It's a continual learning process. It never ends, and that's a good thing. We have to get better and better, and I'm going to end with success isn't permanent and failure is not final. With that, go out and market your farms and your businesses and have a blessed day, and I'll catch you on the next one.